Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Saad. How are you?
Uh,
Welcome to
Walaikum
today's
salam,
business.
walaikum.
Welcome to today's business studies class. Let me introduce myself first. I am Ahmad Abrar Maula Quraishi, son of Mia Jamil Kamal Maula Quraishi. I have been associated with the education sector for the last 19 years. I have taught students ranging from primary to postgraduate level, but most of my experience of teaching is to O levels and A levels. My qualifications are that I've done my metric and intermediate from Cadet College Son Abdal, and I've done my graduation masters from Government College Lahore. I have done master in economics from Government College Lahore and masters in business administration from National University of Modern Languages. My main subjects are economics and business studies. I've taught in various renowned institutions of Pakistan, like Economic School System, the City School, Ahmad International Master Studies, and National Grammar School, CAPES, etc. So today I'm going to give you a lecture related to the topic environmental and ethical issues. So let's start the proceedings. Okay. So first of all, we discussed about the business activity and the environment. Now, we can consider two statements given by two different factory managers. For example, factory manager A says that he knows that his factory pollutes the air as well and also the river as well, but it's difficult for him to remove the waste from the air and from the river because it will cost him a lot. It will be quite expensive for him to do that. So he doesn't do that, and that is why it reduces his costs, and he likes to produce cheaper products, and that's what the consumer wants. Now the other manager says that they have spent $10 million on new low energy boilers that produce 90% less pollution than the old ones. So they have used such an equipment which produce less pollution, and then they also recycle 75% of their waste. And they do it because the consumers prefer that firms should be socially aware, they should be socially responsible, they should not be involved in pollution, they should not create pollution, and they should not harm the environment, and they should not harm the human beings. So the main purpose of the business activity is to satisfy the consumers' demands for the goods and services which they are producing, and which the consumers want from them. And those goods and services should have a positive impact on the environment rather than a negative impact on the environment. So by environment, we mean the natural world which is around us, the surroundings which are around us, and so all things which are around us, they are known as environment. So any business can impact on the environment, like the aircraft jet can emit smoke and also produce a lot of noise and can damage the atmosphere. Then the factory chimneys can emit pollution by smoke, and that is how the air quality is reduced. And then the waste disposable by the factories can be put into the seas and the rivers, and this pollutes the water and causes water pollution. And there is transport of goods by ships and trucks, which also use fuel, and these fuels are fossil fuels, and this can also lead to pollution because they use oils, and because of using oil, the carbon is emitted from the burning, and that can cause global warming and can also cause the climate change. So these negative impacts on the natural environment, they do matter because people live in that environment, people breathe in that environment, people use the water and air and other things in that environment. So they are possibly affected from this pollution. Okay. Now, you can see in the figures as well, there's smoke pollution given over there, and there is water polluted as well. Okay, so by being socially responsible, it means that the business should make such decisions in which the stakeholders, which are apart from the shareholders, stakeholders are all those people who are involved or who are affected directly or indirectly by the business. But shareholders are the persons which are the investors in the business. But stakeholders can also be the consumers and the people living around in the environment. So the social responsibility of business is that it should produce less pollution. It should not reduce the pollution of its business, so that the people around in the environment, living environment, should not be affected. So this is now we come on to the next thing, that is the arguments which on both sides. For example, argument A is regarding the business who is producing goods and services, and I may also making a profit, but is not worrying about the environment. And then argument B is regarding a businesses who feel social responsible for the environment around it and try to produce products which can be beneficial for the environment, and they should not be harmful. So the arguments A were not so showing a social responsible behavior. They said that protecting environment is expensive, and by reducing waste or recycling waste, money is wasted, and so profits are reduced. Moreover, they say that firms will have to increase the prices because the cost is increased by spending on reducing the waste, and they say that this may make them uncompetitive with their fellow competitors, and they will not be able to sell a product which has a good price or a low price, and the consumers will then buy less of their product. And pollution is a problem, and the government should clean it up. They should not be responsible to clean it up. And they say that there's not much proof available that the businesses are actually damaging the environment. But the arguments which are against it by the businesses who feel socially responsible towards the business and the environment is that they said that it is the global warming is being caused by this global pollution. So the business have a social responsibility that should reduce the pollution. And they also said that the resources are scarce, and the scarce resources which are non-renewable resources, then they should be used less, or there should be an alternative energy resources should be used. And now the scientists and environmentalists also believe the business activity can damage the environment very much, and can damage the environment permanently as well. Now consumers are also getting conscious about the global warming and about our environmental issues, so they're also preferring those companies who are environmental friendly. And so businesses, if the businesses are damaging the environment, then pressure groups may come in their way, and they can damage their reputation.
Okay.
So the business can suffer because of that. So these were the arguments for and against social media. Now we come to by externalities, we consumer are involved to business activity. The producer produces and the consumer consumes. But when a consumer buys something from the producer, effect with a third party which is not involved into the business. For example, if a consumer is buying a perfume from the producer, then by buying that perfume and wearing that perfume, it will have a good smell, and it will also create a good environment, and also benefit the people around him. And so those third party which is being positively affected, now this is causing an externality, a positive externality. But if a person is buying a cigarette and is smoking, and that smoke may cause problem for the third person which is not involved in that business activity, then it is a negative externality. So externality is something when a business activity takes place and a third party is affected by that business activity, which is not involved into that business. So that effect can be positive as well, and that effect can be negative as well. If that effect is negative, then it is a negative externality.
Okay.
So when something has a positive externality, something has a negative externality, we call it external cost. So every business has a private cost and an external cost. Private cost means when for a consumer, private cost is that when he is buying something, he's paying a cost. That is his private cost. Similarly, when a producer is making something by using raw materials, so the money which is investing in making something, that is his private cost. Now, similarly, private benefit is that when a consumer is buying something, using it, is getting private benefit out of it. Similarly, when a producer has made something and selling it, and he gets a profit out of it, then it is a private benefit. So both producers and consumers have their private cost and their private benefits. So this is how. Then we come on to the
Yes.
next thing, that is the external cost and external benefit. I earlier told you when some business activity has a negative impact on the society, then it is known as external cost. And when the business activity has a positive external effect on the third party or the society, then it is external benefit. So that is what is external benefit, external cost are. Now, if we add up the private cost and the private and external cost of some business activity, every business activity can have a private cost and can have an external cost. If we add up the private cost and external cost of any business activity, then it will become a social cost. So private cost plus external cost is equal to social cost. Similarly, if we add up the private benefit and the external benefit of a business activity, then that addition will become social benefit. So private benefit plus external benefit is equal to social benefit. I again repeat, private benefit is equal to social cost of that business activity. Similarly, the private benefit and the external benefit of any business activity becomes the social benefit of that business activity. So, when if the social costs are more than the social benefits of any business activity, then that business activity is causing harm to the environment, more harm to the environment than benefit. Similarly, if a business activity has more social benefit than the social cost, then it is giving more benefit to the society than harm. So if we can calculate the private cost and the external cost and the private benefit and the social benefit, or in short, the social cost and the social benefit of business, then we can come up to a conclusion whether we should start a business activity or not. Are you following, sir?
Yes.
Are you following?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We are now coming on to the sustainable development.
Yes.
Now, sustainable development means the development which can continue for a longer period of time, which can continue to remain, and which is not diminished by the period of time. So, sustainability, have given up a figure over here: world energy demand. So they're saying that the billion barrels per day of oil equivalent, and then they are also given the countries which are using it, and then also using giving that how much of okay, what is happening to the world energy demand. Okay, so world energy demand is increasing day by day with every passage of time. 1980 was less. Now in 2030 it may be a lot more than what was it here in 1980. So every country, like every continent, like Africa, Japan, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, and countries like United States, Canada, etc., Japan, they have an effect on this uh, increase in demand for energy resources. Now, population is also increasing, and every decade and every year the population is increasing. Estimated population may be at this time more than 7 billion people living on the earth. Now, sustainable development means that such a development which does not put the life of the future generations or the living of the future generations at risk. So such kind of a development which does not put into danger the future generations, the future life of the generation. So that kind of development is sustainable development. And for example, the future generations do not suffer because of overuse of resources at this time, then that kind of sustainable development will be sustainable development. If you overuse the resources, then there will be less resources available for future generations. If we keep on polluting the environment, then the future generations may have a lot of problems with the environment. So the development should be such that the future generations should not be harmed by our development. So that is known as sustainable development, and it is such kind of economic growth that is not damaging the environment, but it is benefiting the environment, and the society and the social and the future generations will not suffer from that kind of development. So what can businesses do for sustainable development? So businesses can use the renewable energy. They can fit solar panels, or they can buy energy from renewable sources like wind and tidal power, and also from hydel power. So all these are cheaper resources, and they can be used for because they may be readily available in some kind of places in world, not on every place on the world. But wind energy is available in every place. But tidal power may be available into those countries which have oceans at their shores or seas at their shores. Now they can also recycle waste by can use reuse water which is used for products, and they can also use the materials which have been disposed of by use of the products, and those materials can be recycled and again be made usable for new products. And then fewer resources should be used, and they should manage the resources in such a way that minimum resources should be used for maximum production. And then they can also try to develop new environment friendly products and production methods, such kind of products which do not produce waste, which do not produce pollution to a large extent. And so they should not be packaged into such kind, they should not be packed in such kind of things which damage the environment. So this is how the businesses can help the help into sustainable development. Now we come on to the next thing. By using these sustainable development production methods, the business can respond positively to the environmental pressures and opportunities which are available. So environmental pressures are that the environment should not be polluted, and opportunities are that they should be using such kind of methods which are beneficial for the society, not damaging the environment. So that these methods, the sustainable production methods, are those methods which cause minimum damage to the environment. Now, responding to the environmental pressures and the opportunities. Now, how can society make businesses give the environment a higher priority? So businesses should give environment a high priority in their production process. So there are three main ways they can do that. How can society pressure the business for doing that? So there can be pressure groups which can be available into the society. So these pressure groups can contribute to bad publicity of the firm. If the firm is dumping waste in the sea and causing air pollution or noise pollution, then these pressure groups can raise their voice against such kind of firms, and then these people can change business decisions. They can also put a pressure on the consumers who can boycott the products of that kind of a firm. So this is how these consumer boycotts and these pressure groups can put a pressure on the businesses, and the businesses have to change their policies, and they can have to adopt those policies which are producing less environment pollution. So these pressure groups can have public support, and they can also receive media coverage, and then they can ask consumers to boycott, and they can also be well organized groups, and they can also have be well financed by people who can raise their voice. And then these pressure group activities can also result in not changing the business actions, and that is when when the firms are when firms are doing something which is not very popular but is not illegal by the government. For example, the government has not made it illegal, so that is how the business will keep on doing that, and they will not then there's another way that is businesses sell their firms or sell to other businesses their products, and they don't sell those products to consumers, and so the public pressure will be less effective, because the consumers are not directly affected by such kind of firms. So
Okay.
I think this is enough for today. Then we can complete the chapter next time. Okay.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Hello.
Yes.
Sat, have you understood?
Yes, I've understood. No questions for now.
Okay. Okay. I sent you. I gave you an assignment. 2 assignments. Have you done that? Them. You can send me now. Send me now. Okay.
Oh yeah. I've done them last time. I forgot to send you.
Plus this, if you can finish the recording, you can send me the recording as well.
All right.